you've heard this already twice, but I'll break it down again. You know why when you wound an animal, I've been there, Natalie. I don't know if you've been there yet or not, but if you wound an animal, it's like the most sickening feeling.
Oh my God.
That you ever have, right? And it's like, well, why? Why do we have this sickening feeling? Because we're worried.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
I'm at Shane Earn, baby.
Hell
Bash
yeah.
Brothers.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
And remember, new episodes dropping every Tuesday and Friday. Check them out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
We're good. We're live. We got the thumbs up. We got the one thumb.
Robbie,
Yes, sir.
welcome to the Hopeaholics podcast.
Yeah, Robbie the gun guy. Was that right?
Gun
Hunting,
hunt,
yeah.
Hunter, Robbie the hunter guy.
conservationist.
Outdoorsman.
Yeah, whatever you want to call me.
Yeah.
This is a
That's
podcast
awesome.
that has been in the works for quite some time.
Yeah. Super humble to be here. Thank you. Honored.
No.
Yeah.
Honored.
Likewise, because I know how it is doing a turnaround trip, and that's
It's part of the world right now.
yeah. It's
I think this was number 44, flight 44 this year.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's only June.
June, 6
Wow,
months.
4 months in, 6
Oh
months
my
in.
6 months in,
Crazy.
yeah.
How many have we done?
2.
I've done a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you've done a lot. Oh, never mind. Yeah, you've done a lot.
Yeah.
Done-
I take that back. I
Yeah.
forget that you fly all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm at like 2.
No, it's all good. It's just it's just where we are right now and the organization that I run, and we're on that sort of rocket ship right now, and you have to just say yes to everything, and we're getting some help, but yeah, super grateful to be in the position I'm in. You know,
Yeah.
Can't say no to anything right now, so
For sure.
we're just in that.
That's our motto all the time. We always say yes to everything. If you don't know how to do it, you learn to do it. You leverage things, and we get it done. That's just life.
Well, especially I feel like in a business sphere, when you're hot and when it's
Yeah.
on and people want to see you, work with you, hear about whatever it is that you're doing.
Mhm.
If you're not with pedal to the metal, then the next guy is.
Yeah, it's true.
So
100%.
I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, I wake up, I live in the nonprofit space. We built this nonprofit, and I wake up scared every morning.
Mm.
And it's like, I wake up scared because I'm losing money
right.
and I need to raise money. But then are we staying on top of things around the world? Because that's what we're known for. We're known for knowing what's happening in wildlife conservation, in hunting, in issues, literally globally. And people say, man, you're tackling everything right now. And I say, yeah, we're tackling everything. We have to tackle everything. Like, I haven't posted about it yet, and this is the first time anyone's hearing about it, but we just got a billboard changed in a little town in Victoria, Australia, little state in Australia. Comes under attack against duck hunting every single year. Every year.
Wow.
It is the animal justice parties the thing that they
Duck
go
hunting.
after. Duck hunting, right? The way to sustainably get meat, to exercise traditional generational activities, get outside, everything that we'll talk
Yeah.
about. Yet it's funny in that the thing that this world is all about today is inclusivity, acceptance, diversity,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yet the hunting lifestyle is not accepted,
Yeah.
is not included. It doesn't live in the lifestyle that you choose. And so, animal rights activists, specifically in Victoria, Australia, we put up a billboard. We were very proactive. We said, look, this is what duck season is to us. It's family, it's heritage, it's tradition, it's sustainable cooking with the whole kit and caboodle. Well, that erred the leader of the Animal Justice Party in the Parliament of Victoria, Australia. So essentially like the Parliament of California, the person who's the green, we irked her, right? From half a world away.
Wow.
And so she put up her own billboard last week behind ours, saying she got illegally banned from a wetland because she walked into the spread where people are hunting, and that's contravening someone's right to do what they do in the public sphere there. So she was super proud of being arrested and being banned from this wetland. And so she put up a billboard saying, they may have banned me from the wetlands, but they'll never ban me from fighting to get rid of duck hunting. And little did she know that we had in the works already to change our billboard this week. And it changed just literally this morning, Australia time. And it went to this just beautiful white canvas, and all it says is hunting is human. Full stop.
That's dope. I love it.
That's it.
That's amazing.
So it just gives you a little bit of sense of like the everything that there's so much happening around the world, and we just want to stay on top of it.
So is that lady a vegetarian?
You would think that she is, and a vegan as well.
Yeah, like a vegan. Yeah, that's actually
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But she's probably not. Because-
Probably not behind.
And the vegan thing is, and like, I have no issue whatsoever with people doing what they want to do. That's the whole point of being in America. And you have the right to decide what you eat, how you eat, and whatnot. But it is quite interesting, the vegan argument or vegetarian as well, because mostly vegan. Because if you're vegan, then your clothing needs to be vegan.
Sure.
Your makeup needs to be vegan.
Sure.
All of your products. If you're like a true blue, like
True blue.
Can't be
It's
wearing
going
a
that
diamond ring either.
True blue.
it's all where-
Hunting has always been extremely controversial, though.
100%.
100% controversial. I'm from Canada. It's not so controversial. They were growing up hunting, duck hunting, deer. I mean, we're hunters in Canada.
Sure.
We still love it.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it. The only time it was when I got out here, I saw it became very controversial. And I think it's because people love to grab on to the bottom of the pack. They want to grab on to those guys. When they think of hunting, they think of you're in Africa, you're killing the for the husk,
endangered,
for the
in-
tusk, you know, for the ivory.
Yeah.
That's where people's brains go right
Yeah,
away to the
100%.
bottom of the barrel. And that's not what this is. That's not who you are.
No.
No.
That's not what this movement is all about. It's
But it
not
also
about killing animals. It's about
Yeah.
living.
You also need to, we have the opportunity to explain things that people don't understand. And, from a vegan perspective, we've got lots of vegan followers that actually like what we do, because if you take, there's a radical left in the vegan movement that hates everything, right? They're the most vociferous, they're the loudest, they scream the most. But the true blue vegan, the one that really embodies the ethos of why they're doing what they're doing, looks at a hunter and goes, if I was to eat meat,
Right.
that's how I would do
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So they get it. They get it for what we're doing.
Right.
The respect we show for wildlife and whatnot. But unfortunately, you're right. Hunting has a bad PR around it. And every industry has bad apples.
Sure.
WWE
course.
has bad apples. Everyone has bad apples. Unfortunately, in hunting, a bad apple is a real bad apple.
Yeah.
Has no respect for wildlife,
Yeah.
is doing stupid stuff with the dead animal that you can't change or get rid of
Yeah.
nowadays because
Yeah.
of social media.
Yeah.
And it goes around the world in 2 minutes. But, we always have to look at hunting in the context. I always look at it in the context of, what does hunting do? What is its impact? What are its benefits? What are the consequences of the action of hunting? I can't, if Shane, your motivation to go to Africa to hunt an elephant is just to get the ivory, I can't change that motivation. That's your motivation.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. You
Yeah.
want to go and you want to kill the biggest elephant you can find. Okay,
Right.
great. However, let me talk to everything that happens after you actually leave. Let me talk to the village that just received 3 weeks worth of protein. Let me show you literally like laundry lines, not lined with laundry, but lined with dried meat that is being dried so that they can feed themselves and their family for the next 3-4 weeks until the next elephant is shot. That whole entire village is dependent. They don't have an additional protein source. They live in an area that they can't raise cattle because of veterinary fences. And then you've got old ladies there looking after the entire family. And that old lady then says, oh, I'm going to take this meat. I'm going to go to town. I'm going to sell it. Because they can. They can make more money. They can drive things into their village that they never, ever got to do without someone saying, I'm coming to hunt.
Yeah.
And so you see the smiles on kids' faces. You see this old lady just saying, this allows me to take what we have, very little of what we have, and then expand upon it. It's beautiful. Yet the activity of the action that you just hypothetically did
is ugly.
is perceived as ugly.
Yeah.
But the benefits and consequences of the action of what you just did for people, for intangibles like hope, hope in their lives, joy in their lives,
Full stomach.
a full stomach, not knowing where they're going to get their meal, their next meal. All of a sudden, here's this thing that has 3 tons of meat lying on the ground.
I mean, that's true joy when you don't know where your next meal is coming from.
For sure.
To have a full stomach,
Yeah.
especially of protein.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's half the battle too, is that we have been gifted with so much luxury here, and we are consumed in abundance and don't really know the true blue effects of what it's like to not have food. We go to a grocery store, we go to a market, you can get a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
You can get, you know what I'm saying? You can get the little things that I feel like so many people take for granted that they don't really know unless they go outside of America into other countries, into rural areas where something like that is everything. Everything to the entire village, because like you said, they don't have access to the luxuries that we do here in America that we take for granted.
I've been to Africa a few times, so I remember throwing water bottles out the window of the car,
Sweets.
the little boys, and walking down the village with my hands in the air and having their little hands go through all my pockets and my socks. I would leave change in there. They would take the money out. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a whole different world. But I mean, then this morning, last night, I brought chicken today to eat.
Amazing.
Well, it is, but it isn't, because now I'm thinking, this chicken, how did he live? Like, how did he die?
That's where my head goes.
This is what I was thinking last night. Like, how was the spirit of this chicken? I know how they're bred. It's not humane. And if people could see that.
In certain mechanisms. Certain mechanisms,
right.
yeah.
Let's say the majority, from what I've seen, you
Right.
have a flock of 40,000.
Correct.
They're walking all over each other.
That's
They're
like
fat.
factory farming.
Factory farming, you know? So, I mean, where did this chicken, how did he die? How's his spirit? I'm eating it. I was thinking about that last night.
Well, that's the thing. You have no idea,
You have no idea.
right? You have no idea how it died. You have no idea how it lived. You have no where it came from.
No.
And so when someone hunts, like when Natalie hunted her elk, or we hunt a duck, or we hunt a turkey, we know exactly where we are.
Yeah.
We know everything about the animal. It's lived in a free-range environment. It's antibiotic-free, hormone-free, as organic as you can possibly get.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And we know, but because of the ethos of a hunter,
Yeah.
we want to execute, pardon the pun, the most ethical shot we can take on that animal to end its life as quickly and as humanely as possible, as we can.
Yes.
Okay? And somebody's like, well, Robbie, no, that's impossible. I know hunters that are terrible people.
Sure.
And I said, well, okay. That hunter that do they practice at all? At all? Oh, yeah, I see them flinging their arrows of their bow every single day. Oh, why do you think they're doing that? Just for fun? Or is it for a reason? Oh, it's for a reason to become more accurate. Okay. Well, what does that mean in reality? To be more accurate in a hunting scenario means you're more lethal in a hunting scenario, which, if you take it one step further, means you're more humane.
Totally.
Yeah.
So when people say, well, we want to ban bow hunting because it's inhumane and unethical, it's like, wow, that's contrary to everything that we know true to bow hunting. Again, take the person out. Take the motivation of the individual out. Are bows getting faster or slower?
Faster.
Faster. Are arrows getting more accurate in flight or less accurate in flight? Are broadheads getting sharper or duller? It's all trending towards being more effective. And you have to ask the question, why? Why are hunters eager to become more effective?
Right.
It's simply so that we can be more lethal, which means become more humane.
Yeah, and when you talk like that, I envision a Native American, proud, in the olden days, you know, hunting, having his animal and killing it and the spirit, and he's doing a prayer over the body.
100%.
Like, that's the feeling you just gave me.
Well, you have to think like history, you know, you have your
Yeah.
hunter-gatherers. So
Yeah,
when the men go out
100%.
to hunt, they're providing for the entire village, their family, their children. And so when you do go out there and you end up with a beautiful animal and you're able to then come back home, that's so much joy and so much pride, because now not only were you able to even achieve that, because
Yeah.
for anybody that doesn't know, hunting is not what they see from the bad apples. You know, it's not like you're able to, I'm sure places there are, because like in every industry there's going to be those bad apples.
100%.
But it's not like you have all of these amazing animals just standing around waiting for you, and you're just in your car and you're, you know, able to
Drinking booze.
Yeah,
Or
like,
you know,
it's-
smoking cigarettes.
it's just it's a fallacy. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's interesting how the narrative for hunting is kind of so negative, but then you have, I guess, organizations like PETA, right? Because when I first started and when I first
Oh my gosh.
but
We're going to put that in my podcast. We're going to talk about that story.
okay,
But-
but it was interesting. So with Jonathan, we wanted to make sure that when I initially put up the first post on social media, because obviously it would be very different
100%.
for me, especially for people that had been following me for quite some time, from Total Divas to WWE to whatnot. And so we wanted to make sure that the narrative behind it
Yeah.
was a story that people could read and could understand, instead of just like me standing with this beautiful elk like it's this trophy. I didn't want that to come, you
Yeah.
know. And it was interesting because PETA did come for me hard.
They commented on your Instagram
Mhm,
post.
mhm. But I have to say, I have to completely give a massive shout out to the entire hunting community, the outdoors community, because I responded in basically a way, and I mentioned it in the magazine I just did with Hook and Barrel, is, I mean, if you really watch PETA videos, it's like, thank you. That's why I hunt, because of the factory farming. They showcase the brutality of and the other argument that I think is fascinating to me, especially because I've now dipped my toe into this world, is that if you are a meat eater, right? And you go to whether a grocery store and you pick up a steak, or you go out to Morton's and you have a beautiful steakhouse, where do you think your meat's coming from? Like, honestly.
Factory.
Right. Exactly.
It's horrible meat. It's anxiety-ridden meat.
Yeah.
You're getting anxiety before you even cut into that.
Yeah.
So then I even
Steak.
go,
100%.
I even go full like cuckoo, where it's like, okay, so you have these animals that are, if you torture a human like me, I'd rather die off of in my sleep, or give me one shot and I'm out.
Yeah.
Where or be tortured and have bodily fluids, feces, all this stuff with thousands of other people in a small room per se, and then you know you're going to die, because animals are not dumb. They, like, even when Jonathan was growing up, I think it was his uncle or something, took him to a pig factory,
Yeah.
and like, that's gnarly. Like,
Yeah.
the pigs can hear the other one like
Crying.
so like, and we all know that when your cortisol and all the things in your body, it releases, and
Bad.
your meat is not going to be nearly as good when you're stressed like that. So to me, I think it's the most ethical form of consuming.
I mean, it's even more ethical than another animal coming and killing it.
That too, that is such a good point, because people do not see that side, and that's why I was so excited for you to come and share, because I think we do live in a social media era, right?
Sure.
So like, I feel like, especially because hunting is so polarized and it's so controversial, and people have a lot to say about it because they only see that side of it, like a person going for like tusks. They don't
Right.
get to see that they just fed an entire
Correct.
community, or exactly what you just said, Chad, is it is fascinating the way social media will just highlight the negative as opposed to the benefits. Also, to like, if you watch on the Instagram, I think it's
Nature is Middle.
Wild or
Nature
yes,
is Middle. Yeah.
yes. Please look that up and take a peek and see how gnarly nature really is. Because when you see an animal going after another one, it is like I'll sit there and watch. It's wild.
Brutal. Yeah.
It is.
It's brutal.
Well, you got to remember, Mother Nature, unlike humans,
Right.
has no idea of rights.
Mm-hmm.
There is no rights in the animal kingdom. There's no ethics either in the animal kingdom. It is a brutal. She is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
She's violent. She's cruel.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that hunters are violent, cruel, brutal, it's just, unfortunately, it's all tied to social media nowadays. And the hunting community, you know, back in, let's take social media away. Social media has only been around since like 2006, 2007. Okay?
Yeah.
It's a very, very short time span. The cell phone and the cell phone camera has only been around the same time frame. So prior to that, the hunting community, in terms of sharing their stories and sharing their narratives and sharing what they did it by photos and putting it in the posts and sending it. You know, that was how they communicated. Yeah. And they didn't communicate, hey, look at us feeding the village. Hey, look at us giving soccer balls to the kids. Hey, look at us building a school, a medical clinic, bringing electricity in, that kind of stuff. They didn't communicate that way. They communicated with the trophy shot, okay, which is, here, look at these cool animals I killed, which is fine. But that communication style needed to change with the advent of social media, but it didn't. And so
everybody's still they were just posting their trophies.
They were just posting their trophies, like Natalie said, without any context to actually, you know, why you're there, where are you, what are you doing, and then all of those benefits and consequences, and the fact that, hey, we took this animal off the mountain and we ate its liver that night, you know, or for breakfast the next morning. Again, that's part of sort of why we exist, in that we've got this sort of, you know, peer pressure is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
In that people see and then they want to do. And so they see us communicating in a certain way. They see us, you know, when we get called every single name under the sun by someone who hates hunting.
Or guns.
Or guns.
Or guns. It's
just
double,
like,
it's a twofold thing here.
Yeah.
You got guns and killing. I mean,
you just got to, you know, sort of turn your cheek a little bit and go, man, I'm thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. But let me give you things that I know. Here's some science. Here's some facts.
Which I like too, because like you know, Joe Rogan says post and ghost, right? Is basically his motto. But in my industry, I need to respond, because not to the hate. I ignore the hate. But like most of like this type of stuff, people are reaching out.
Yep.
They're telling us they're hurting.
Yeah.
You know, and which I think is fine and everything, because what you're just telling me right now, even with the people that are hating, if you go in and maybe not comment to them, but just comment.
You just diffuse, right? And so that's the thing. And I think this is even, and you've probably felt this in your industry. I may be talking to Chad. So Chad came in, he said something, I've responded to Chad. I diffused the situation right away, being truthful and honest. Yeah, that's a terrible photo. I agree with you. Sucks. Doesn't paint us in a good light. And I'm not trying to actually convince Chad to change his mind. Maybe I get Chad to change his mind.
Maybe, yeah.
But there are 1,000 other people or 100,000 other people watching me speak to Chad.
Yep.
And they're like, oh man, I never knew a hunter speaks like that.
Yeah.
I never knew a hunter was that intelligent.
Yep.
Right.
Wow, look at this dialogue back and forth. I had a back and forth on Facebook, and the guy privately DM'd me, and he goes, I've never had a more intelligent dialogue with someone but with you in this Facebook back and forth. And he was like this ultra vegan. And he was just giving me kudos. He was like, wow, okay. You didn't denigrate the entire conversation to a shouting match.
Yeah.
It was more like, hey, let's be a little intelligent. Let's have some amicable discussion, which is the root foundation of society. which unfortunately in every part of society today we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it's okay for you to be, you know, your opinion is your opinion, my opinion is my opinion. It's okay for us to disagree.
For sure.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's because people have so much emotion put behind it, as opposed to listening to actual having a dialogue, a conversation, and hearing the other person's perspective or point of view, as opposed to just this like emotion attached to it, which then leads to aggression and defensive and just.
Well, I mean, it makes you wonder when people are that like, you know, like that, like, how much work do they really need to do on themselves on the inside to be able to not be able to handle like what other people do in this world?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I actually like it a little bit because it shows that they have passion behind something, right? Yes, they're really into it.
Yeah.
But when you're really into something, you really have your blinders on to a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't accept a different point of view because it's going to actually completely deconstruct this thing that you're super, super passionate about.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
Right. It does.
And that's when they turn to screaming.
Exactly.
Just screaming, not saying anything, just,
Right.
ah.
I mean, I've been that angry before where like I just scream and not like nothing that I'm saying is actually making any sense at all. Like I get it. I get being that angry.
And then there was the 12 steps.
And then there was the
You know what I
That's the
mean?
thing.
Like, because I totally understand being so emotionally like charged with a specific feeling that you're not even really logically making sense yourself, but you are just you want to be right in whatever capacity. But I clearly had to do a lot of internal work. I don't do that anymore ever.
I grew up in a religion that is mostly vegetarians.
Okay.
Seventh-day Adventist
Okay.
religion, kind of similar to Jewish religion.
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know, because you're Jewish.
Oh.
You know, no bottom feeders, stuff like that. They ate fish, so they were more pescatarians, right?
Okay.
But I've always loved meat. Like my dad grew up on a farm in the middle of Canada, and they raised their own food, all of it, cows. My mom grew up on a chicken farm in Victorville. Her dad, they had chicken houses everywhere, and they sold chickens to the biggest, you know, producers of our chicken at the. Yeah, it wasn't good though. I mean, they were chickens on top of chickens, like just like you said.
Yeah.
Chickens on top of chickens.
Yeah.
And chicken houses.
Yes.
I don't eat those kind of chickens anymore, though.
I try not to either.
You got to find like a local farmer's market with a little guy that's selling individual frozen chickens.
The Hutterites in Canada. Those are the farms.
Or the my house, because that is what the beautiful thing, that like one of the positives and perks of Texas is that we have a little bit of land, so now we have our own chickens, and then we let them just kind of. It's real fascinating to actually watch animals do their thing, because I think people for the longest time you always hear chickens are stupid. They're really not. Like we have a guinea hen and she is amazing. She like alerts you because we have coyotes and bobcats and everything, and it's just fascinating. And then also, I've never had a better egg.
Yeah.
Never had a better egg. It's actually really crazy where it's hard for me to get eggs from the store, because now it's almost like once you have something and then you experience it, it's very difficult to kind of like go back. But even just like the yolk and everything like that is just a different.
I got to bring you my special blue eggs.
I got
good.
them in the fridge.
Not those ones though. The ones from the farmers market.
Really?
Oh my
Farmers
God.
markets are great though. That's the whole, like, it's really great to
crack these things and it looks like your yolk is like just like
the sun
bloody. Yeah, it's like orange.
Yeah.
Well,
orange.
it's one of the things that will blow your mind, and you might have done this already, but you may not have. So if next time you kill a deer, say in Texas, a doe, right, you take all the meat, and then you've got a carcass, you've got a skeleton.
Yeah.
Put that carcass with your chickens, and they will pick that carcass absolutely to the bone, and your eggs will be unbelievable.
Really?
They will be this this luminescent orange yolk because of all the protein that they just ingested.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That makes sense.
I got a pack from my friend Peter. You'll meet him after. I got a pack from his wife, and 4 of the eggs, they were huge. Double. They were twins.
Yeah.
I was so stoked because like I eat 2 eggs every day, but I got 4 yolks that day.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. I love that one. I love when I get a little surprise.
Do you ever get those with your chickens?
Yeah.
That's so.
That's what I mean. It is really fascinating to actually see something move and grow and live and do their thing in person, like every day, you know.
I'm kind of curious what the general population know, because I feel like the general population might be more like hunting's okay.
Correct. You're 100% correct.
And then you've got this smaller population of vegans, and they're like, no, not really. But then you've got this smaller population that's loud, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kind of how it always is in all of this stuff. You got the right wingers, you got the left wingers, and they're always the loudest, right? And it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So in Blood Origins, what we do is we like to sort of bin a couple of people. So we've got the hunters that are 10% of the population. It's actually more like 4% of the American population is hunters, all right, based on statistics, numbers.
Wow.
We're 11 to 13 million in a population of 330 to 360 million, whatever you want to call it, in America. And that percentage is going to keep going down because the number of hunters stays relatively the same, 11 to 15 million about. But the population of America keeps going up. So our numbers stay the same, but our percentage in relative terms to the population goes down every time. So then we've got our 5 to 10% over here. We've got our 5 to 10% vegans over here. And then we've got about an 80% majority in the middle. I split that 80% to 40-40. 40 are not intelligent enough to understand what I'm saying and the nuance that we're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
The other 40% actually are incredibly intelligent and are typically, like you just said, are ambivalent to hunting. Some generally positive, some generally negative, most in the middle. We don't really have an opinion about hunting. And so those are the people that we want to put content in front of, the non-hunting majority, to say, here are some benefits, here's some impacts, here's some consequences, here's statistics on, we've talked about meat a lot now, you know, here's some statistics on wildlife populations. Like we should all, regardless of whether you're a hunter or a non-hunter, the goal is to see wildlife flourish for our kids and our grandkids to see one day. Correct?
Yes.
Everyone would say yes. There's not a single person in this world that would say no.
Right.
Okay. So then again, we break things down very, very logically. Okay, so if you think hunters are anti-wildlife, we don't want wildlife around for our kids and our grandkids to one day. What do we hunt? We hunt wildlife. Okay. So would you, in your sort of equation of thought, does that mean we want more in the future or less in the future from an opportunity perspective to hunt?
More.
Everyone would say more. Okay, so then what does that mean that hunters need to do to hit that target, hit that goal? We need to ensure that we're conserving wildlife, which means we're conserving habitat, which means we're very careful about the numbers of animals that we're taking, the quotas, the regulations, the legality around it. And if you look across the world today, wildlife populations are flourishing, not all because of hunting, but for the vast majority in places because of the sustainable use of the resource through an activity like hunting. I'll give you an example. Markhor. Probably never heard of a markhor.
No.
A markhor is a goat-like animal that lives in the Himalayas, specifically in Pakistan, Tajikistan, and whatnot. It's got this crazy horn structure. It's an incredible, incredible animal. In the early 1990s, there were about 300 of them left, desperately needing some sort of intervention. They were just being used. They were being poached for the pot, essentially for goat meat for the pot, for the villages in the Himalayas. Well, all of a sudden, here comes one hunter that says, hey, I need to, again, tied to motivation, I need to check my box of killing a markhor. Can I kill a markhor? locals, regional governments are like, man, like, maybe should we just put one up? Can we see what? Yeah, let's do one. How much do you think that first Markhor went for? $250,000
Wow.
into a place that has nothing.
Jesus.
All of a sudden they're like, and we get to keep the meat? And you're going to give us $250,000?
Wow.
Whoa. We're thinking about this all wrong. How many Markhor are there on the planet today? 3,500. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Still only 8 or 9 tags given every year for Markhor, bull, male, big male, old males that are past the breeding age. Not going to affect the population.
Nice.
Still getting $200,000 in Markhor today.
Dang.
Okay.
So I love what you're saying, right? Everything that you just said right now never gets emphasized or highlighted ever. Like people have like people have no idea that this so this particular animal, a Markhor.
Markhor.
I
Markhor.
need a South African accent to make it sound way cooler.
Correct.
So an individual has to pay
yes
$250,000 in order for them, removing the motivation, to go ahead and get this animal so that they can perhaps check off their box. But however, now what that does, not only to that community,
oh, it's incredible.
it's insane.
Schools for women
Right.
in Pakistan. That doesn't happen. Electricity in villages that have never had electricity before have electricity. Here's the coolest part. If you ask the locals, like, oh, these guys are coming in and they're trophy hunters.
Right.
They're taking those horns. And they're like, that's the least valuable part to us. You take it. We don't want it. We don't need it.
Yeah.
We've got the meat. We've got whatever we need.
Yeah.
And so it's things like that and here I think there's so many cool little facets. Again, when you just start digging into, you can tell me after I finish this, like, pick a country. We'll tell you something.
Yeah.
Snow leopards. Everyone loves snow leopards, right? What do you think the favorite prey of a snow leopard is?
Rabbit.
Markhor. You nearly got it right.
not even close.
Not
like,
even close.
like,
Not even close.
not even like a little bit close.
Snow leopard's a big boy.
Yeah, they're
All right,
huge.
all right,
They're
all right.
scary.
Why did
Don't
you
need
think?
to make fun of
I
me.
just want
No,
to.
I'm not.
No,
I'm sorry.
Because
I
I
don't
pictured you're in Russia. It's wintertime, and there's a rabbit running around, and there's a leopard chasing the rabbit.
Sure,
that was
sure,
my
sure.
vision.
Yeah, leopard, it's a big boy.
Yeah,
though.
okay.
You're talking about a big
All right,
boy.
yeah.
But snow leopard populations are bursting right now. There's more snow leopards on the landscape than they've ever had as an indirect consequence of more Markhor being on the landscape because of hunting.
Can you hunt those guys?
Snow leopards?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But see, that right there is another huge fact, is that everything is...
It's valid. So go ahead.
No, I think you know what I'm leading or trying to lead towards, where we want our younger generation to be able to see wildlife and flourish and have more of. And so when you go into hunting, like even for an elk, and this my first season since I was new. I mean, my godfather, shout out to Butch, rest in peace, but he was a huge avid hunter. So I grew up with, all of his shoulder mounts, and I just knew of hunting season. But obviously I was a kid and I was into sports and never really fancied to take time away from playing to then go on a hunt. But it's designed where everything is basically tracked. So it's like, even for my first elk, and I did not know this going into it, is you purchased your elk tag, right? And so if I were to go out and say that I wounded my elk and I saw it and it jotted off and I couldn't find it, and I basically devastated, don't know where the elk is it dead, is it alive, is it all of the things, right? That's it for me. I'm done. I don't get to just say, oh, whoopsies, and go get to shoot another one. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You purchase your tag, and then hopefully you do make a kill. A lot of people purchase tags and they're not successful because, one, they either don't see an elk, or two, the elk are smart and they can scent you from, they're pretty incredible. And so when you're trying to approach, they're not even there. They're ghosts. They're gone. And I thought that was fascinating because I don't know what I was thinking, but definitely not that. I anticipated you purchase your elk, and then you get one.
You get one. There it is.
And that's
trot him out.
Yes.
Trot him out. You get to shoot him.
right. And that was totally that opened my eyes.
I learned that from Cameron Haynes' book.
Oh, Endure. Yeah.
Yeah, because he shot I don't remember what it was, but he wounded it, and then he was like devastated, and he found it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, again, you've heard this already twice, but I'll break it down again. You know why when you wound an animal, I've been there, Natalie. I don't know if you've been there yet or not, but if you wound an animal, it's like the most sickening feeling.
Oh my God.
That you ever have, right? And it's like, well, why? Why do we have this sickening feeling? Because we're worried. We're worried that we didn't do what we were supposed to do, that we are causing pain, that we are causing suffering in that animal. And so then when you find it, there's so many things happening at once, but there's relief that it is dead, that it is past, that you did your job, that yes, you have the meat and everything that's tied to it. So it's so easy for, again, hunting to be looked at very superficially.
Because when you see the picture.
Oh, you just see the picture. Exactly.
But hearing people like you and what you do and how, because that's what I want to get into is what made you want to create Blood Origins and be on 44 flights and we're just hitting June. Like, that's obviously I got put on to you because as soon as I started and going into my first hunting season, then I really, and my husband is very much, he loves to research, and that's when we really dove in, and that's how we found you. Yeah. And so what made you create Blood Origins and do what you're doing today?
So I've got two little savages that we talked about before we got on, 12 and 10. And I was born in Brazil, but pretty much raised South African. So I moved when I was 3. So lived in South Africa, lived in Johannesburg, which is 8.5 million people, just like Los Angeles, right? So didn't grow up around hunting, didn't grow up in a circle of friends that hunted. I was one of those in the middle, didn't have an opinion about hunting kind of scenario. But my family is steeped in hunting heritage. Like my grandfather was born in Khabarovsk in Russia. He hunted. He was a hunter-gatherer at one point during the war system. He moved to Mozambique in 1954 in the heyday of Africa and literally hunted everything except lion. His name's Leo. My oldest is named after him, Leo. So he never hunted his namesake. And so I grew up with the stories. I grew up in a system where I got stories, the written word, never sort of verbally around a campfire or at the base of the big leather armback, wingback chair.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather was the kind of guy that was kids are to be seen, not heard.
Yeah. Old
school Russian. Like he would have a dinner party, and if he was ready to go to bed, he would get up and start winding the clock, and everyone knew time to go. And so I grew up with the stories and the trophies on the wall, but I never got to experience hunting in South Africa at all. And so when I came to the States to do a PhD, I did a PhD in Mississippi, and so I met this 6'5", 260-pound redneck, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go hunt?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds good," and got into hunting that way. But it's sort of, again, a fast evolution, just like you're going through in terms of what it means and what you do it for. And so then with my kids, I'm like, okay, look, I have a PhD. I can explain, okay, we're trapping because we want nest predators to be gone so that we can increase our turkey population and quail population. But I couldn't tell my boys my heart of like, why are we actually doing this? Like I couldn't. So I was like, okay, well, let me look for it. Let me look for my heart. And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in the hunting community. I couldn't find it in the outdoor channels or whatnot. And my wife and I were teaching Sunday school at the time. And I was using a video testimonial project as a reference for all my Sunday school classes called I Am Second. Have you heard of I Am Second? When you leave here tonight, watch one I Am Second, and you're going to watch Josh Hamilton's I Am Second. And you'll watch another, and you'll watch another, and you'll watch another, and you'll watch another. It sucks you in because it's this white chair, black background, looks like they've got 50 cameras around him, and he's just telling a story about how he came to Christ. And that's it. They've got super famous people and people you have no idea who they are.
I am second.
I am second.
God is first.
Correct.
Right on. I like it.
Brilliant.
I like
it's
it.
Brilliant. And so I was in I Am Second 8-9 years ago, and it was so impactful. Like, I could tell you Josh Hamilton's piece, he's obviously, Josh Hamilton was a pitcher for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Parents died in a car accident, got into drugs and alcohol, super heavy. Then dropped drugs and alcohol and got into tattoos. And that was his vice then. But in this story, he talks about how he was living with his grandmother at the time, and he was having this dream, and this dream was he was fighting the devil. And he was fighting, and could never win. And he kept getting beaten down, and to the point where he thought he was going to die in his dream. And he woke up and he climbed into bed with his grandmother at 26 years old and said, I need to sleep with you tonight. I need to sleep in the bed with you. And so then goes through this transition, gives his life over to Christ, and he has the same dream. And he's fighting the devil, and he's fighting the devil, and he's fighting the devil, and he starts winning. He starts beating the devil back, and the devil runs away. This is all in this I Am Second video. Like, I can remember it still 9 years later. And I watched it, and I was like, as I was thinking about how do we communicate a hunter's heart? I was like, I want to communicate it like that. And I don't want it, and the way that I Am Second is filmed, it's me and you looking at each other. That's how they film it. They don't film it quarter turn, which everyone films like this, right?
Yeah.
If we're being interviewed, the camera's where Chad is. No, it looks, you look at them like and it's super, dead in the eyes. Yeah. It's super uncomfortable. I was like, man, I want hunters to sound like that. I want them to express their heart, their emotion, their vulnerability, their transparency. That's what I want. And I started it without me being involved. It wasn't about me. It was about our community. And I was learning from our community because I wanted to learn from my boys. So that's where we started with Blood Origins. And I had a couple of good breaks in the beginning. And, in the classic sense, and you live in the industry now, like, okay, I need sponsors.
Sure.
Like, we need sponsors. Okay, we need money. So I approached people. And luckily, everyone said no to me. But we just kept going. And what you'll find, and as you know, why I'm sitting at this table today after probably 18 months of communication, is I'm the most patiently persistent individual you will meet. And I'll just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And that's what we just kept doing. We just kept doing and doing and doing. More stories, more stories, more stories. There's a famous hunter in our industry called Jim Shockey. And Jim Shockey, he's Canadian, by the way, said, I would have lost money in you disappearing. Because I didn't. I just kept coming. And so everyone had told us no. It made us completely independent and completely autonomous to nobody. We didn't belong to nobody. We could say what we want. We could speak to whoever we wanted. We could interview whoever we wanted. Then my wife said to me in our third year, she was like, look, I love your passion. Love what you do. And I've got a full-time job at the same time. I'm a full-time environmental consultant. I've worked for the BP oil spill. I've implemented a huge restoration strategy from Texas to Florida, and then I've built this passion project on the side. So I've got 2 jobs, essentially. And my wife was like, look, I love your passion, but I want my savings account back because I drained it completely. We've all been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, what do we do? And a friend of mine said, why don't you turn yourself into a nonprofit? You're in the awareness space, you're in the education space, you're telling people about hunting, just do it. And the day that we announced it on Instagram, that we're a nonprofit, and again, we're still flying the plane that we're building, but like 50 people donated money to us that day. I was like, oh, okay. Now we got a business model. And that business model has continued to today, and we're still completely autonomous. We're still completely independent. And we've broken the model, and I use Christensen Arms as an example of this. We should belong to every gun company. We don't belong to one gun company. Everyone should support us because of what we're doing and the narrative that we're chasing and the narrative that we're pushing out to everyone to understand hunting. And so we have a couple of gun companies that support us. And we have one gun company called Bergara, who's at the top of the list. They give us the most money. But it doesn't mean anything to us. You just support us because you can. The guy that gives us $25 a month is equally as important to me. You know, it's just like the woman in Matthew, in which she washes Jesus's feet and all she has is her hair and water, versus the rich woman in the corner is bitching and moaning, excuse my language.
Yeah.
And saying, well, why are you giving her all the attention? We've got perfume to clean your feet. And it's like, no, she's just as good as you. She's giving everything she can. You're giving everything you can. And so Bergara, we put a big post out saying, thank you. Mm-hmm. Just thank you. Thank you for supporting us. The third person to like that post was Christians in Arms, their rival gun company. And we've built this thing that is like, there's no rivalry here in our space. There's no competitiveness in our space. We just are on a singular mission to just change this narrative, to educate and make aware around all these things that, like we said about the Marcor, you have no idea about. I told you I flew back from Paris on Friday. Mm-hmm. Spent 10 days in France and Belgium on a project called, in French, is Savant Bambi, which is saving Bambi. So the original Bambi story, which you could almost like point to like the original like against hunter narrative story, is Bambi. Yeah. Bambi was built off of roe deer, which is the most common species of deer in Europe. Well, now right now, end of May, early June is when does are dropping their fawns in the fields, in the forests around Europe. Well, those fawns get hidden in big hay fields. It's also the time of the year that farmers cut their hay. So there's a lot of chopping up of Bambi that happens all across Europe. Horrible death. Well, who do you think are the people going out with thermal drones every single morning when a farmer calls saying, I'm about to cut a hay field? Can you please check to see if there are any fawns in the field and go catch them, pull them out of the field, and save thousands of roe deer? Hunting organizations. So that's Blood Origin. So I know that was a long answer to a short question.
I'll tell you something, like anything worthwhile, it's an uphill bloody battle.
Every
because
day.
like anything worthwhile, it's an uphill battle. You have a passion and you're selling that passion. Because again, I'm going to go back to when you say hunter, you don't think what you're doing or what you're aspiring to get to people to do. Right. You're looking at the big bad hunter all the time. So you got to sell that passion that you have.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah, and you're selling it to those 80% of the population. You know, even if it's 40%, you know, you're selling it to them because, like, I've actually never gone hunting, but I want to.
Well, we know some people that can.
Yeah, we know some people. Yeah.
It's funny, true story. So I originally came here July 28th just to sit down, do a little interview and do a podcast. And then it just aligned with everything that I've always wanted to do. And then now we're here. But when Jonathan and I were saying, like, when I could actually fully be back, like fully in, like all my pieces, it would be after October because October's hunting season.
That's right.
For me. So the guys know for sure. They got to see firsthand, like, oh shit, like in real time, I guess you can say, because as soon as October was done, November 4th, I was here.
There we go.
Never left.
It's a tough game, I'll tell you, because you got to hunt. So you got hunting, you got killing an animal, you have the gun, then you have taking time off work. It's basically a male-dominated sport.
100%.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you're leaving the family. I mean, it's a tough...
But you're leaving the family to go bring them back food, though.
This is what I'm.
Totally. I love the devil's advocate.
Yeah,
in a sense.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
But it truly is. There's seasons, so it's like October is the season. So it's like it's not really that big of. It's not like you're leaving every weekend or doing something.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And also too, I never thought that I would have such an experience like I had, in the sense of the emotion, the camaraderie, the growth from just being out with people. You share a bond that I didn't think could even be possible by going out to kill an animal. you go out and because you're struggling, like when you go out on a hike or you're going out to, make a kill for one of these animals, it's not what people kind of think. There's so much that goes into it.
Bonding in that.
Right. And going back to your story about going through the emotions of thinking that you injured or wounded an animal. So my first hunt, and shout out to Montana Knife Company, because I think what Josh did is
you got to hunt with Jessie.
I did.
On that hunt.
We shared. It was her first hunt as well.
Yeah, perfect.
And so we got to share that. So we're like literally blood sisters for the rest of our lives because it's something that you share with somebody only one time, and it's both of our firsts. And to be able to do that together and have her husband and have her husbands there as well was a very emotional time. But my first hunt was an emotional roller coaster because I made my kill at night, and so we were losing light, and it's actually funny because my first rifle that I used for my first hunt pre-Christensen was a Bergara 300
look at that.
Mm-hmm. And then now look who I'm signed with.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like the two that you just mentioned. I'm like, I couldn't have aligned better. But so I made the kill, right? We saw the elk go down. It was a 425.
Yeah, right at dusk.
Right at dusk.
Right,
and
right.
So
Not at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So obviously that's also another thing in hunting. Like you have until a certain time when I
want to make sure we're correcting
thank you
that.
very much.
So that nobody's like, oh my God,
she's shooting at nighttime.
Shooting at night,
she has
and
night vision.
Spotlighting. And
Yeah, no. You have legally, you have until each place is going to be different depending on where you are at and what country or what state that you're hunting. So it was right at dusk. So obviously it was not dark, or else you cannot legally take a shot. Correct. And you couldn't see the animal.
Yeah.
So very good for correcting me on that one. I make the shot. We see the animal go down. But by the time that we would have to hike all the way over to the mountaintop that the elk was at, it would be pitch black dark by that point. And it was a super learning moment looking back, because Josh and Gary basically were saying, just in case that I wounded it, right? You don't want to spook the animal either, because when they take off, sometimes you can never find them again.
Right.
So
you backed out.
We backed out and came at dawn next morning, and those hours I cried. I held it together because I didn't want anybody to see me, but then as soon as me and Jonathan were alone in the car, I was like a wreck. And then I called my parents, and it was a really tough thing, because my head was going, did I hurt this animal?
Right.
Is it going to be there? Where is it? All of these things that I'm happy that I experienced it off just that, because it turned out okay, because we came and it was right where we left it. Mm-hmm. So I made a great shot, and the animal went down and everything turned out fine. But the fact of the emotions for like 16 hours, maybe not that much, maybe 12 by the time we got back to camp, and then went to bed and then got up at 4, was horrendous. Mm-hmm. It was so tough, and I didn't think that I would have that much emotion involved in going on a hunt, I guess, is the takeaway. Yeah. You go through so many things, and then you also experience the teamwork, in the sense of everyone's going for one common goal, and that is to be able to make an ethical kill and end up with a beautiful animal.
Yeah, and we shouldn't shy away from the fact that, killing is involved in hunting.
Right.
Okay, it is what it is. Otherwise it would be called hiking. So you are hunting to kill.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's the point. That's why you practice. That's why you do what you do. You go out because you want to take said animal for said motivation. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Where most people most people eat meat. How do they think that meat?
Well, that's the one thing where I thought was very fascinating and interesting, since I am dipping my toe into this world, is that when I put out, that I hunted for the first time, and I withheld showing the elk, just because I didn't want that to be the first thing to go up, because immediately you disregard any type of context that goes along with it. And shout out to Jonathan for helping me with that, because that was his plan. He was like, no, because you don't want people to think that you're into this for the just
glory,
the trophy. It's not about that. It's the fact that I was able to go and not only provide for my family, but then for friends, and to be able to have that kind of conversation around dinner and create community and
camaraderie.
talk.
That's a big deal. But I'll tell you what's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that most females have never felt that camaraderie. They've gone through school.
Sure.
They have a family.
Sure.
They don't feel that team spirit.
Sure.
So when you tell them, hey, let's go on a hunt, they're like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
But that's okay.
But no, that's
which
okay.
is fine. But
Right?
we have to let them know, listen, it's not a matter of the hunt.
No, but
Let's look at it in a different aspect. Let's look at it as a team building experience where you and I are going to get closer. Just the feelings that you've gone through with your partner, with your husband.
I'm going to do devil's advocate on that argument, because I totally understand that. And I know that I've encountered a lot of women that they have they think hunting is great and it's amazing, but they have no desire to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Which, though, their husband or spouse or significant other, they go out on the hunt, and then it gives them so much joy preparing that meat and being able to then.
I agree.
So
I
it's
agree.
I understand in the element of not everybody is going to actually want to go, because it is tough. It's this season for me. We put in some massive
big hours,
hiking miles.
Yeah.
And I understand that full force. But what I think is interesting is that when we did go ahead and put it out there on social media, that I just went on my first hunt and started it. First, if you guys haven't watched it, Montana Knife, Josh, they did an awesome video and showcased the whole kind of thing. And it came out really beautiful in the sense of it showcased a lot of vulnerability that I didn't think that I was going to even have, let alone showcase in a sit down type kind of interview. But you can see the emotion and the love that has nothing to do with the hunt and the kill.
Sure.
That's just a part of hunting, obviously, but there's so much more into that. But what I transgressed, what I was mentioning is people that do eat meat is a vast majority, like you're saying, a lot of people do. There's very small percent that are actual vegans. So the only argument that they have is about they can't take away the kill, as opposed to they're walking into a local grocery store and just providing the meat that's right there at the counter without thinking that's a pretty easy transaction. Therefore,
hunting must be easy.
Right. And I think that's very
naive.
Yeah, and that's why I love what you are doing, because one, clearly you're a very smart man. I mean, you have a PhD. You don't need to be doing this. You can be doing
I could be making a lot more money.
Yes.
I quit a job that was making a lot more money.
Correct. And your wife probably
Now, are you doing this full time?
Yeah, so I took it last January full time.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
God is good.
That's why 44 flights this year.
Yeah. But I think it's really important to have people like yourself, because you're able to communicate it in such a great way that's digestible for the non-hunter, because you see it's so easy to see the photo of the finished product, meaning the kill, right? Because that is ultimately you're going out there, you're getting the meat or whatever your motivation is. However, you don't get to see everything that you just discussed,
right?
About the 8 tags, the making sure wildlife is not. I think people think that hunters are going out there and just trying to kill everything and anything that moves.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we're going to have no animals and everything.
That's the feeling. That's the feeling out there.
Yeah.
That is the feeling. That's the last animal. You're a hunter. You're going to kill the last animal on Earth. What, are you kidding me, man? Don't do that. Don't kill that last animal.
Right.
That's not the case.
No, it's actually.
That is not the case.
You want to keep a male and a female so they can breed.
Well, that's why, in America, if you go back and you rewind the clock back to late 1800s, early 1900s, wildlife in this country was decimated.
Mm-hmm.
It was for the market. It was for the meat market. So very few bison, white-tailed deer were 300,000, less than 1,000 elk, no turkeys. There was just nothing. There was nothing. And so all these things got put in place by sportsmen to say, man, we don't have anything that we can hunt anymore. Teddy Roosevelt put a bunch of things in. We have a bunch of acts that fund money back into state agencies and whatnot. And your wildlife populations today are exploding. We have 32 million white-tailed deer in North America from 300,000. How did that be? Like, why do we have so many elk? Why is elk being, repatriated into different states east of the Mississippi? Why do we see turkey populations flourishing? It's because they have value. They have value from moving away from the market system, which was, it doesn't matter what we kill, we're just going to kill it, to now the value is on the old curmudgeon male that's lived his life, has done his breeding.
Right.
Let's take that guy because he doesn't affect the reproductive engine of the population. The females that are giving us all the babies, let's protect those guys. Same system everywhere in the world. Just replace the animal, and that's the system, because they know that's how you grow wildlife.
So what they're doing in Canada, getting rid of the old
crotchety
men up there?
That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
It's a good system.
Yeah.
Live your life, put you out to pasture.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Take you cleanly.
Those good bulls, they put the bull out to pasture. That's what we do.
That's right.
And then he has fun the rest of his 20 years.
That's it. Until the end.
Yeah.
And then we gained a lot of money out of you.
Right?
Yeah.
God. But the passion, and that's what you're selling. He's getting that passion, and you want to gain acceptance from the masses.
Well, it's education.
Education. That's it.
It's seeing hunting in a different light. Because we do live in a social media era, and obviously when you do go out on a hunt, it's interesting, because I thought that I would have a different emotion once I was in front of the animal. Like
the dead animal,
right?
Yeah,
like a wanting that trophy, shot, but it totally didn't happen for me. It was very much more of like so much gratitude, so much connection to what people did before me, as well as the animal, and like it. I say now, especially if you're a meat eater, you should experience at least one hunt, just one.
Sure.
Because it opens your eyes into a whole nother world, but a whole nother appreciation. Like, it makes me also really appreciate the food that I eat and not be so wasteful especially when I'm eating a meat, because I know the amount of effort that it takes to actually
cost.
Oh yeah.
Let's just break down the cost, okay?
Yeah.
Like, it's super easy, and it's actually super inexpensive to go buy your filet mignon.
Oh, yes.
From the grocery store.
For sure.
Okay. Her elk steak is probably 10 times to 20 times the cost of that filet mignon. Okay. And here's the kicker. Here's what I love about it. Natalie will give her elk steaks away. If Chad's like, I want to try elk. Oh yeah, I'll give you some elk. When last did you hear someone go to the grocery store and go, I got home. Called the neighbor up.
Oh my God.
I just bought 15 ribeyes. You want one?
You're so right.
Never. Yet the most expensive meat, it doesn't, cost-wise, but you know what I'm saying. You're willing to give it away. And why are we willing to give it away?
Wow.
Because we want you to experience what we just experienced on the mountain. We want you to experience this thing that will melt in your mouth. And just be like, you can feel how good this meat is. You can feel how organic it is. It's just like, it's indescribable beyond you tasting it.
Mm.
That is so wild. I mean, Jonathan would always reference, he's like, this is the most expensive meat that we will ever have. Just because obviously you incorporate like time, effort, even just from getting the proper equipment so that you can make an ethical kill. Like, that is very expensive in its own. But then you just saying that is never once in my mind did I think about the reference you just and the analogy between buying 10 ribeyes at the store and then asking neighbors if they want some.
Yeah.
There's a spa out in Texas, and the owner, we know that she has 2 teenage boys, and so I went and got a facial when I was back in Texas. And what did I do? I brought meat.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the reference you just did, but it is so very true. Where, it gives like a joy and a fulfillment to give somebody else.
I do it to my UPS driver all the time.
Yeah.
And we've got a good relationship. Rob, hey, you want some meat? You got a cooler with you? He's like, yeah, I got my cooler with you. Hold on. What do you want this time? You want Nilgai? You want
right.
Axis? Do you want, whatever? He's like, oh yeah, I'll take some Nilgai. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's wild. How have you taken your boys on a hunt?
So again, this is the whole part. This is the problem of the world that I live in that I rarely get to hunt anymore.
Okay.
So that means I rarely get to hunt with my boys anymore.
Right.
But we did go on a dove hunt last year with the dogs. So yeah, now I'm as we grow and I bring people on to help me, I'm starting to work balance back into my life. And balance means like I need to take my boys hunting.
Sure.
And they're getting to the age now. Leo's 12, so he's getting more interested in guns and like be like, hey, Dad, can we go to the range? And I've never wanted to push hunting on them. Like, hey, at 7 years old, you're gonna kill a deer.
Yeah.
Nah, they're not those kind of kids. They're super soft and full of heart, and they love to cuddle. And completely opposite to what my dad was and my grandfather was. And so I'm going to just, they've gone squirrel hunting. We've done duck hunting. We've done dove hunting. And so we just like sort of let them come to it. My oldest is in scouts. He loves scouts. He loves camping. So it's just, I think it's going to be just a natural progression to like, hey, let's go do something like that.
For sure. And it'll be a nice bonding experience. Because you want to go on a hunt.
Yeah, I want to go too. I ate every kind of meat when I was in Africa. Wildebeest, zebra, alligator. Crocodile.
There's no alligators in
crocodile,
Africa.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, crocodile.
Whatever it was. They brought it with
no tigers in Africa
tigers,
either.
But they brought a big meat
There's
plate.
where do tigers live?
India, Asia.
Oh.
No tigers or bears in Africa.
Now, do you bow hunt?
I would call myself, I bow hunt. I'm not a bow hunter.
Okay.
And the difference being I just don't have the time to practice. And I'm not, but I get it. Like I get the idea of bow hunting, getting up close and personal, seeing them bat their eyelids at you. As a lady that I interviewed once, she says, I can see the individual poop coming out of the poop chute. That's how close I get to those animals. And I get it because it's a rush of rushes.
Right.
Now if a bear comes rushing at you and you just got a bow, I hope you have a gun too, right?
I would think that most people that bear hunt with a bow, start and stalk, have a gun with them.
I think so. Always, I think they always have a gun.
Bears are scary.
For sure.
Bears are scary.
Let me ask this question: how many bears do you think are in California?
Thousands.
That's just a very general.
It is very general.
A number.
How
many bears?
A million.
In California?
In California, how many black bears do you have?
They're over 1 million.
No, not that much. 60,000.
Oh.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. That's a ton.
60,000. They're everywhere. The California actually has a big black bear management plan out on the street for comment right now, and it just shows. Actually, it's funny. 3 years ago, the Humane Society in California was challenging the commission to ban bear hunting in the state of California. And we were like, there's a perfectly healthy population. It's growing. They had really weird statistics, and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife stepped up and was like, well, here's our data. And they had phenomenal data on black bear populations, and it really just put a plug in that to say,
yeah, I've been. We have a house up in Lake Arrowhead, and I'm driving down the street, and I had a mama bear, and 2 cubs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was pissed when I drove. Stood up at me at my car, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep going.
Oh my gosh, how scary!
Yeah, they'll jump on your car, protect their little cubs.
Of course. Which is another thing where it's like, when you watch wildlife in nature, it is mind blowing.
It is mind blowing, and they're big. When you're up close to a bison, I mean, they're big. They're not. You're not talking 200-300 pounds. These are big animals.
Yeah.
Is that spelled with a Z or?
That was Canadian for bison.
A bison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I just ignored that.
Yeah, I would ignore it.
I
too.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't help
Well,
it.
imagine being up close and personal with an elephant.
Yeah, it's
No.
true.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
That's proper.
yeah.
But again, if you hunt properly and you get your wind right, and certain senses they are good at, some certain senses they're not. Their smell is amazing, but their eyesight sucks.
mm-hmm.
And you can get up close and personal. Like my grandfather has stories of them in and amongst a herd, trying to figure out which is the bull, and the tracker with them, like tapping him on the knee, going, "Hey, Bwana, I'll go touch that elephant if you give me $5." And then you just have to rewind history. We talked about hunter gatherers, and the greatest ivory hunters in Africa were on the East Coast in the 1800s, 1840s, 1850s. These guys would cover themselves with elephant dung and poison arrows, and they would sneak in up under an elephant and stick an arrow in it, and they would go after. There's lots of rhetoric, and you've brought it up already. Like, oh, you white guys, you like to go to Africa and just kill the biggest elephant with the biggest tusks. It's a colonial thing. Yeah. It's a white thing.
Yeah.
No, the original elephant hunters were killing the biggest elephant that they could find. Well, again, why? Number one, it's the most meat on that carcass that they can do the village, but it also has the biggest tusk that they can trade with the Arabic traders that were all up and down the east coast of Africa to generate economics for them. So
Commerce.
Exactly.
I can't even imagine what it would be like to try to quarter an elephant.
Oh, it's not. There's no quartering an elephant.
What do you do?
You totally dismantle it. Like, well, more often than not, these elephants are taken and put in a place that there's no villages nearby. So typically they're put onto the back of a big trailer and tractor, and they're trailered to a place where the community comes. There's other places that an elephant drops. Everyone knows that an elephant hunter's in the area, and the bush telegraph goes out, and all of a sudden you have 300 people that just show up out of the bush.
Yeah.
You're like, where did you guys come from? And they will dismantle that elephant, and there will be just a puddle of blood left. Everything will be gone.
So basically, everyone that is in the village, they'll come and they'll just
with basins and buckets and sacks and everything. They'll just go at the carcass.
Wow.
And just totally take it down to nothing.
How many pounds of meat is that an elephant?
It depends, like thousands.
How much do elephants weigh?
I need to look at my phone. I don't have my phone. I'm being very good.
Ton or two.
Probably 4 tons.
4 tons.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Shane.
Yeah.
No,
like
it's
8,000 pounds, right? 2,200 pounds is a ton.
Yeah, 1 metric ton, 2,200 pounds.
2,200 pounds.
Yeah, we were in Botswana last year filming a big elephant documentary, and we got word that an elephant had been shot. And I'd never been up close and personal with an elephant on the ground dead. I don't have a desire to hunt an elephant. It's just not what I'm interested in. And we watched the process. Like, I've never seen the process. I was interested in seeing the process. And all the guys are building. They'll all start chopping up. And then one guy starts a fire. And there's a fire set up next to the elephant. And they just start stripping out meat, putting it on their sticks. And they start cooking elephant meat right then and there. It's almost like a lunch break. And so they're like, "Hey, you want some?" And I was like, yeah. So I wanted to do the whole process. So I had my Montana Knife Company knife, and we went up, and I stripped my piece of elephant off the big chunk that's sitting in the tree. And again, this is probably going to gross out a lot of people, but there was a little can of spice that was going around just to flavor the meat a little bit. And I asked the one guy, and I'll let Shane be that guy, and I was like, "Hey, do you have the spice?" And the guy looked around like this, and he was like, "No, I don't have it." And he looked at his hands, and his hands were covered in spice, and he was like, "Oh, no problems." And he took my meat, and he just like rubbed it all. Yeah. And obviously he'd been in an elephant all day, and who knows where he's been and whatnot. And I was just like, oh, okay, and I just do it. And then the fire is literally, you just stick the meat on the coals, on the wood, and we ate it.
How was
it was just like burnt cow. It was just like very charred, beef, essentially.
Yeah.
But there was a dead elephant right there. And again, it's super provocative. It's super, the animal that everyone associated. It's been Disneyfied. It's Dumbo. It's the science on them is that they are intelligent creatures. They are. There's no doubt about it. They communicate very differently. They've got different
elephants.
Communicate to their feet and
memory.
They've got memories and they've got different societal structures and matriarchal structures, and so there's a whole debate on like, should you be hunting elephants? And it's like, okay, well, should we not allow Africans, because that's where obviously all the elephants live, should the Africans not decide whether they want to hunt elephants or not? Because it's their resource, right? So are we living in a time where today that elephants are endangered? That's a good question to ask. Do you think elephants are endangered?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So they are technically on the endangered species list, okay? But every country in South Africa right now, you can't give an elephant away for free. Nobody wants elephants anymore. There's too many of them. Nobody has space for them. Botswana has the largest elephant population in the world, 130,000 elephants. Probably close to 150 to 180 because of the survey area. They've done a great job, but there's way too many elephants. Scientists recommend that there should be probably 50 to 60,000 elephants on the land. There's 130,000 of them. So then what do you do? How do you empower people to, we've talked about wildlife a lot and conserving wildlife, but to conserve wildlife, you need to value wildlife. But if wildlife like elephant is destroying your villages and killing people and destroying your crops, and there's not much value there anymore. They just want them gone. Get rid of them, man.
Like the pigs in Holland.
Yeah, it's not it's a Western mindset of like, protect the elephants.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we live with the elephants. The Botswanan president, Germany has been threatening to ban the import of trophies into Germany. I.e., if I kill an elephant in Botswana and I'm a German resident, I cannot bring the tusks or the hide or the skull back to Germany. That's what they want to ban. The Botswana president said, if you love elephants so much, you have them.
Yeah.
I'll send you 20,000. And let's see how you guys deal with them. And it exploded. It had like 2 billion hits.
Nice.
It went absolutely viral because it's the president of a country. Like, he may be joking, but he may not be joking. Like, he may stick, 25 elephants on a bee bomber and say, hey, landed in Stuttgart, and say, we're here. They're here. Where do you want them?
Here you go.
Just open it up.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, it's mindset. It's all mindset. Like, okay, you don't live with elephants. You don't understand the system. You don't live. You've never heard
of our business.
You've never
Really?
heard.
Come on.
Yeah, but you've never heard from a girl whose father got trampled by an elephant, and now she's got to look after 6 of her siblings. Again, that's part of my job, to tell that person's story, to let everyone know about that person's story.
Nice.
To
and
tell
about that part.
Yeah, that part. Like elephants, the idea of save the elephants today, it's an archaic narrative. South Africa has too many elephants. Zimbabwe, too many elephants. Botswana, too many elephants. Namibia, probably at carrying capacity or over elephants. Mozambique, same thing. Tanzania, same thing.
How did that happen? Is it because of the whole can't hunt them, or how did all of a sudden they just like mass populate like
because there's been a phenomenal emphasis on saving the elephant.
Okay.
From the early mid-90s through today. They went through a massive poaching crisis in 2009, 2010, 2011. Mozambique, Tanzania, everyone got hit. But now we've had 12 years of expansive growth of an elephant population. Elephants will grow at 3 to 4% of their population every year. So there's been protection. But at the same time, there's been a growing human population in Africa. Africa is going to have 5 billion people by 2050 predicted. So where in Africa used to be this, and even America, if you look back a lot longer, but used to be the sea of habitat with like islands of humanity. Now you've got the sea of humanity with these islands of habitat where you've got these wildlife areas that are being protected, whether it's a national park or an area that's protected for hunting. And so you've got now a very constrained area in which a smaller elephant population actually constrains that confined area. Now, you can't have, whether you believe the science or not, you can't have 1 million elephants in Africa anymore. There's 400 to 500,000 right now. I think we're over carrying capacity of elephants in Africa. There's obviously places that could take more, but in terms of the burgeoning human population, you've got to look at reality and say there's just no more space for them. And again, that's the same situation. So when we think about we want elephants for our kids and our grandkids one day, what's the most fundamental thing for elephants to be around for them to see? Is to safeguard those islands, is to safeguard the habitat. The habitat is key. Without habitat, there's nothing, no wildlife anywhere. Well, who's protecting the most habitat in Africa? Hunting. It's 1.2 million square kilometers, I believe, of hunting habitat. I may have that number wrong, but the number I don't have wrong is that it's double the area of protected national parks in Africa.
Oh my gosh.
Through hunting.
Wow.
So get rid of hunting. Let's just throw it on the table. Everyone wants to get rid of hunting. They want to ban hunting. What's that going to do?
Yeah.
It's going to take the value away from all of that habitat and go, okay, we're out. And if they're out, what's going to replace it? It's not going to just be like, oh,
yeah, totally.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's going to be fine. No. People are going to move in.
Yeah, condos are going to be put up.
Cattle more likely.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Cattle more likely in rural Africa. But yeah, condos, avo farms in Kenya. But it's going to be goats and sheep and cattle and things that compete with wildlife. Condos.
I mean, we'll throw up some condos, a couple condos. It depends on where, right?
Yeah, but I think that's what's a huge misconception about hunting is that there is so much. People always want to say follow the science or follow the money, right? And so it's like there's so much that goes into the amount of animals that can be actually killed or that you can go and hunt, where it's not just this free for all.
Right.
And a lot of and you're always paying unless you're on some, in the early days of Cam, you're going out into like the wild by himself,
right,
being like taking it way back in time in the sense of like true like hunter-gatherer type era. But people have this like false narrative, and I don't know if it's because of lack of education or lack of research or just being super naive to it and not wanting to do the due diligence of what is required in the hunting space, where not only are you providing for certain villages, certain towns, for them to be able to essentially live, and be able to go in there because 8 tags or 9 tags, 250,000 a pop,
Sure.
Or then you have this elephant situation going on where it kind of is one of those things where I look at it like it's the circle of life. Like, it's not that we're trying to wipe out animals and have zero. It's more along the lines of everything is documented with data and how much animals are on this specific space or in this state or in this country, and then which then goes to the allowance of being hunted.
Yeah, I don't know if people are ignorant or they're just not doing their due diligence. I think they're also being a little bit, we've never had a voice. Like, hunting's never really had a narrative voice of like, this is what it is. The only voice that's been out there has been the anti-hunting, animal rights, animal ethics.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
All negativity.
It's all negativity.
All negativity.
Nobody's ever bothered to be like, and again, I understand why the hunting community hasn't done what we've done, because it's not quote unquote sexy, right?
It's not at all.
For hunters, what we do is not sexy. They want to see the hunt. They want to see the kill. They want to see that. That's what the hunting community wants. I get it. We don't film hunts. We're not interested in that. We want to show all of this. That is really not. Again, it's not sexy for the hunting community.
How do you decide what you showcase, what you film, what you video? Because your stuff is amazing, and it's because obviously I feel like there's so much going on. And so it's how do you pick and choose? Do certain countries come to you, or do you reach out, or are you doing your research, or have your team or something where you're constantly looking at these different countries that perhaps are either going through something or like the elephant situation, and then it sparks an interest in you, and then you're like, ooh, we need to highlight this and get this messaging out.
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was like we'd take anything.
Yeah.
Like if somebody said yes to me, we were like, all right, you're in.
Yeah. For sure.
Today, obviously, we get slammed with
Yeah.
people asking, hey, you need to talk about this. Can you talk about that? Can you look at this? What about that? So what we do now is very much we look at it and we're like, maybe not right now. And it's a little strategic. It's a little random, but sometimes we just won't interact, or we'll just say, oh, that sounds good, and then just leave it alone. Because when you look at it, it's not matured enough.
Sure.
It's not ready yet. It's not, the story isn't quite there yet. Or we'll probe with questions back like, hey, what about this? What about that? And so then we put the ball back in somebody else's court to say, hey, you do some more research for us and come back to us. We've got a phenomenal mole network all around the world. So when I wake up in the morning, and that's, again, from a balance perspective, this is a 24/7 job because the world is awake 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you're asleep here in America, Australia is awake. Halfway through the night, Africa is waking up, Europe's waking up. So when you wake up in the morning, I'm one of those guys, I don't know if you are, in terms of the phone, I hate seeing red dots on my phone. There's two types of people in this world, I believe. Those that have 15,000 emails unread, or those that have no emails.
I'm the no email guy.
I'm a no email guy. So when I wake up in the morning and I see my phone is just this murder board of red, because if you can get a hold of us, you'll get a hold of us.
Yeah.
DM, you name it. People reach out to us.
Right.
And WhatsApp, America doesn't really know what WhatsApp is, but WhatsApp is the text messaging platform for the world.
Yep.
And I wake up to 200 to 300 WhatsApp messages every morning.
Nice.
Wow.
And so it's just like, okay, is FYI? What is just glancing? What needs our attention? And so that's what we sort of sift through constantly, day in and day out, is like, what projects are coming? What do we want to focus on? Where haven't we focused yet? Like we haven't done anything in South America yet. Africa is always going to be a hotbed. There's just lots of things to do in Africa. We just dipped our toe into Europe. Obviously, there's lots of stories to be told in America. But America has their species-specific NGOs, the Turkey Federation, the Ducks Unlimited, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, that do that work for those species. And so it's just sort of flitting around the edges to find cool stories that maybe nobody's ever done before. For instance, we went into South Texas and we followed the meat in terms of nilgai. So nilgai is this super, it's a non-native animal. It's an antelope species. It's huge. It's like 600 to 800 pounds on the hoof. When you gut it, when we gutted my bull, it was 400 pounds without its guts in it. So it's a really big animal. Phenomenal meat. It was brought into Texas in the early 1900s to be a beef substitute from India and Pakistan. It's proliferated to 50,000 nilgai now in South Texas. And so when someone hunts a nilgai, the amount of meat is overwhelming typically. So they're like, we don't want to deal with that. And typically that meat then can get donated into a Hunters for the Hungry program. And so we followed the meat essentially, and we ended up in food deserts in Corpus Christi, a battered women's shelter in Victoria, Texas. And so those are the kinds of things that you just hear about.
Yeah.
And sometimes I hear about a story, I'm like, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
I want in. Like, how do I get in to that story? We should tell that story. So it just depends. It's all of the above and none of the above. It's a feel kind of thing as well.
So in essence, you're a storyteller and an educator.
100%.
I mean, you're like a boots on the ground journalist.
Yeah,
giving,
correct.
Like truth in
Good
fields that people don't want to.
And good journalists tell really good stories.
Yes, because they tell the truth, or at least there's no like real motive. It's just facts and
we want to be
really
that way
on.
for hunting. Like we don't want to. Yes, as soon as we are a hunting organization, we get automatically labeled.
Yeah.
And we get biased in our labeling. And yes, we are pro-hunting. Of course we are. But we're also like, when we see something, that's not right. Hey, that leopard population's going down. We shouldn't be hunting that.
Yeah.
That's not who we are.
Yeah.
And so we try to bend to the middle as much as we possibly can at at every juncture. For instance, that's why I'm on this podcast.
Yeah.
This isn't a hunting-based podcast. Your audience is probably vast majority, that 80% that's in the middle that I want to talk to.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That
And
is
so
what they
that's what I'm interested in constantly. If we're right in the middle of we talked about elephants. There's a huge elephant controversy right now in Africa. We're right in the middle of it. And we've talked to both sides. We've talked to hunters on this side and the NGOs on the other side. That's like, you shouldn't be hunting because we want to hear from you. And when I have the NGOs on, I'm not trying to pigeonhole them into my philosophy of hunting. I want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
There's
it's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to say there's always going to be someone wanting to put up a bloody roadblock.
Of course.
And it's going to be our job to let them know, hey, that's not the case. Here's what really happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think the being able to, again, being a little vulnerable as a man. You talked about a woman being vulnerable. Like in the hunting space, it's, it's big, braggadocious kind of masculinity. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be thoughtful. I think that's also missing. And that's something that we've brought to the table as well, is that it's okay to think. It's okay to really man, should I have done that? Was that, and
like what you're saying, because you're right. A lot of people are going, oh, yeah,
Sure.
kill.
Of course. And why do you think
Yeah.
we're in the position we are today? Somebody has asked me a question in the past, like, what's the solution? Like, if you had your magic wand and you could implement one thing for hunting, what would it be? And it's pretty simple. It's like, I just want people to think. Think in the field when you hunt, like, is this the animal I should be taking? Should I take the shot? Is it the right thing to do? Just think. If you did kill that animal, did you think about the imagery you're going to portray with that animal? Did you show the animal respect? Did you think about what other people would think? Did you even maybe put a lens of a non-hunter in terms of what they're going to think when they see what you're about to post? If you decided to post, did you think about what you said in your post? Did you give the context? Did you think at the end of when someone comments something negative, did you think about what you were going to say back to them? All of those phases of thinking. If we just infused more of it into our community, I think our image and the story behind who we are would be far, far, far greater.
I love that. I
don't know if I would post a picture.
I mean,
Some people don't.
I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I don't know if I would or not.
I took it. It wasn't my first one, but also, I was very proud.
Yeah.
And it was a different element of, I wasn't showing it as a trophy, because my first hunt, I wasn't about trying to get the biggest or anything crazy. It was more along the lines of, when the opportunity arose, was I ready and confident enough to make the best ethical kill and do the job?
Yeah.
That's the conundrum we face, though, right? The conundrum is Natalie behind an elk with a smile on her face,
right,
is automatically translated as, oh, she loves to kill.
totally.
Yeah.
Versus it was an accomplishment and an adventure, and she did it. She absolutely did it, and she's smiling and beaming because she did it.
I would
And,
definitely,
the
I would
gratitude.
definitely post a picture. I would see. I'm like, I mean, my friends out there posting pictures of their big ass fish they caught. What, fish don't have feelings?
True.
Come on.
True.
I don't know.
I just look at it
So
more.
I'm posting a picture.
I'm not posting my first kill.
Oh, I am.
I'm not.
What are we hunting?
We're hunting.
He's gonna hunt a.
we're hunting a deer.
No,
Okay.
he's not. He's gonna hunt a little bird.
Bird hunting's good.
You know what, though?
Bird hunting's a great introduction.
Bird hunting, I would post.
You would?
Yeah. I
But
would
why?
post.
Okay.
Why?
So let's do
Wait,
this.
wait,
Because I can
wait.
hold it up. Because I can
Uh-uh.
hold it up. It's a little animal. It's
You
just-
can
No.
hold up the head of a.
No.
Wait a minute. So I want to
bird
hear.
is different for me than a
Why is that?
deer. It's just different. A bird.
It's to kill.
Yeah,
Regardless, you're killing an animal.
No.
The thing,
What?
Killing a bird.
the thing
No,
with
no.
me
It's
is
Big
like,
difference for me.
I get it that a lot of people in this world have feelings towards animals.
course.
I just wasn't gifted that gift. You know, I'm not a huge lover of, like, yes, I have my dog.
No, I get what
But
you're
like
saying.
some people will spend an unlimited amount of money to keep their dog alive. I have a limit.
There's a change in society specifically around cats and dogs nowadays.
Well,
unbelievable.
You know what's weird about the dog situation? When I was growing up, we had Dobermans, Rottweilers. The dogs were never allowed inside.
Oh, 100%.
They were only allowed outside.
There's specialists today, like hip specialists for dogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ophthalmologists
Oh yeah.
for dogs.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what year did dogs all
Get
of a sudden
crazy?
come inside?
Because
like never. I mean, and we have dogs.
it's the same with me, man. My chow chows, they lived outside.
But like I never thought about it.
But
like,
now,
when you were a kid, it was just like that was the thing, and it was like my mom would very much, and my dad would be upset if we messed up, and all of a sudden the dog ended up in the house. It was like, oh my god. But now, I think every person that I've encountered that has a dog.
Oh wait, I was looking to see if her dog was inside right now.
Well,
probably next door.
Yeah, she's a human. She's smarter than a lot of humans.
Yeah.
Okay. But
little chuckle from the back.
Belgian Malinois are actually really smart. Have you seen those Instagram videos? They're incredible.
I'm waiting for the point.
I'm sorry. What year did dogs all of a sudden transition and start living in the
it was in the 2000s.
Was it?
It had to be for me. I mean, it was for me. I don't know.
We always had dogs inside.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Wait, I want to go back to what makes the difference between a
bird and an animal.
Because it's a valid
question. I think his opinion is probably the vast majority of people. There's no, like, fish. That's why people have no issues with fish. They have no issue with fish. They have no issue with birds. But all of a sudden, there's a line that is crossed.
Because it's Bambi. That's what people say.
Oh, maybe.
I hear that all the time. It's Bambi.
Well, we'll just have to show them a documentary of us saving Bambi in Europe.
You know what's interesting about you is that you didn't essentially, like, you come from a hunting family,
right?
And you weren't raised.
Oh, I'm like you.
Yeah.
I only started hunting when I was 27, 28.
Which is insane to me in the sense of, like, I could feel the passion and, like, the just you're so well spoken with really being able to, because a lot of times it's hard for people to get their messaging across, especially when it comes to such a controversial topic that's digestible, because they're using a lot of things that people can't really, like, relate to or understand or retain, and you do it really, really well. Obviously, you're very smart. You have a PhD, but it's very interesting that it's not that you grew up, like, as a little boy into what you're doing now. And I mean, you came into the States and got your education, got a PhD, and then all of a sudden definitely could be making a lot of money doing that route, but instead all of a sudden something spoke to you where you wanted to then transition into communicating the not so much narrative of this hunting community and wildlife.
Yeah, look, I've always loved wildlife. And when you're a small boy growing up in South Africa, every boy growing up in South Africa has the same dreams and aspirations as American boys or Canadian boys. Become a lawyer, become a policeman, become a firefighter. But in South Africa, you want to become a game ranger. You want to be that guy.
wanted to be a cowboy, bro, so it's the same as a game ranger.
We want to be that guy driving everyone around, showing them the wildlife, showing them the elephants, teaching them about
That's awesome.
This tree can be the cream of tartar tree. This one can cure a toothache. That guy, that's what I wanted to be. So I did that. Obviously, my career took over from a science wetland ecology perspective. But you talk about passion, and I really thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I think it's rooted in the fact that I have a perspective that most Americans don't have. I'm super proud to be an American today. I'm a citizen right now, but I didn't have what we have here in America growing up in South Africa. We don't have public land. We don't have a Second Amendment. It's very difficult to own firearms. It's very difficult to sort of just hunt generally. And I see it here. I get to experience it. Like, I got to experience it as a college student, as a PhD student. I was like, this is unbelievable. So a lot of people don't understand what you have. Like, you don't have that perspective. You don't know what you have until you don't have it.
Totally.
Okay. And so now that I'm raising my two little savages here in this country with these things that you have, that I have, that we all have now, that is like, okay, we can't lose that. Like, and you can't lose that around the world, and here's a thing called hunting that is absolutely protecting that thing that I know I didn't have. I know it. So I'm going to do everything in my power to try and communicate that truth to people that have never heard it. And that's what we do.
I love it.
Fighting for freedom.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you find your passion. You know, you got to follow your heart, man. You have to follow your heart. Everything that, you know, I've done two things right in my heart, in my life. I followed my heart both on both of those journeys, and this podcast is one of them.
Awesome.
You know, and the one before that is the building that you walked into.
Mm-hmm.
That's my heart and soul. That's my heart. This is my soul. You know, this podcast exists because of the fentanyl crisis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this podcast exists because I lost my son-in-law to that crisis. You know, and at that point, that's when God said, I want you to be the voice for the people who have lost their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Or now I say the voice for the voiceless, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a deadly crisis. 300 people are dying every single day.
It's crazy.
To fentanyl. And it's like, hello, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know?
I know when you talk about certain things like that, whether it's the fentanyl crisis, and there's obviously two polar opposites, right? But in the sense where I think is quite fascinating to me is that those are two very important topics, and yet in America we like to get emotionally charged about things that don't matter, that are they're nonsense, and it's a little disheartening in the sense of there's these huge issues that can significantly become a problem in the sense of if hunting is banned, right? And then clearly, obviously, fentanyl is killing children. It doesn't discriminate. It's seeping into America like wildfire. And those conversations just seem to be not like swept under the rug, but kind of compared to the other topics that have no real
value.
Yeah,
kind of.
Well, I mean, it's in America, our politicians like to politicize these types of issues. You know, they like to grab those 5% on each side that will just scream about it and rile everybody up, hoping to rile up. And I will tell you, they have done a really good job the last 8 years of riling up and making America the great divided country.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and one of the things that, you know, we're not a political podcast in any way, shape, or form, but with this crisis, I'm in recovery, and you know, we're a group of individuals that come together regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, lack of religion, political views, for a common cause.
Yeah, the cause doesn't see that.
Yeah, the cause doesn't see that, and so that's one of the things that it gives me a little bit of hope that, you know, a crisis such as this and a death not being for nothing,
right?
Being able to bring unity, which is the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah, there's no politics. There's no red and blue to hunting.
Bringing, because you know what? Democrats and Republicans both hunt.
Correct.
They gotta eat.
And they gotta eat.
And I guarantee you, the vast majority are eating meat.
And they all love wildlife.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just exactly. Like,
so
it's,
you know.
You're peeling the blinders off of people in terms of the awareness and whatnot, and we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you did it for me today. You know,
love it.
Peeled back some blinders. Not that I had any real opinion about hunting at all. I mean, I'm a meat eater, so I'm a carnivore. I love meat, so I was always down for, you know, hunting. I love it when my friends hunt and bring me free meat. You know,
that's why I think that's why I'm very grateful to Josh and Jess from Montana Knife, just because it is there, and even in the trajectory of like where my career has shifted into now, I'm like all in with the treatment centers, with the podcast, with these guys, even though they don't like it, they love Jonathan and they get stuck with me. That's the thing. But it's because Josh wasn't afraid of teaching somebody that was interested, and definitely not like a so-called generational hunter. I didn't grow up as a child hunting, even though I've always had a huge respect for hunting, and obviously I've always eaten meat, and was willing to show me the ropes and not be worried about what other people were going to say, because obviously, I mean, even when we went out, he told me, he's like,
just watch out. Be prepared.
Right. But
what's coming.
I'm like, I come from the WWE. It's a circus. If you can handle that, you can handle anything. So, but that's why it was very important, and God gave me a really large platform, and it would be, I feel like it would just be a waste if I didn't use it in some type of positive manner. Not saying that everybody has to agree with like my values and my morals and what I like to do. However, just understanding the logic behind certain decisions that you might not be into, therefore hunting. So that's why it was very important to put that out there in a storytelling kind of manner.
And that's why I reached out to you. You are the kind of person that we want. We want you in our hunting community, because however many million of people that follow you, the vast majority are not hunters.
Right.
And so there's no way where the Blood Origins is 20 years old, I would never have the amount of reach into the demographic that I'm interested in reaching into that you will have.
Right.
And so we need more of you.
That way we're not in like an echo chamber.
Correct.
Same with like our industry.
Rich Fronin all of a sudden is now a hunter.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, he is.
And
totally.
so I did the same thing. I was on Rich's podcast, and Rich, he put up a bear on one of his posts. And I texted Rich. I said, Rich, please, next time you decide to put a bear, you talk about the difference between a bird and a deer.
Yeah.
There's an elk and a bear. It is like you've elevated it 1,000 times. And so I said to Rich, okay, look, you've got the bear out there. His community is vastly non-hunting.
Right.
I'm going to comment on your bear post, pin my comment to the top so that we can do this.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because you know what? A bear, even to me, like somebody, I'm like a bear. I mean, I think it's badass, but I also think that like the normal people are gonna think that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and people don't eat bear. Bear meat is super delicious. Same thing with cougar, mountain lion.
You would
I would hunt a bear.
Hunt a bear?
I would hunt a black bear in California here if I could. Yeah, I would.
You can.
Can you? I would do that.
100%.
I would do that.
What kind of weapon are you gonna use?
A gun.
Which gun?
Gun.
What gun would you use?
Bear stopping gun.
Any caliber, normal caliber will do.
357.
No, you don't have to go that big.
No.
308.
308.
Super simple.
Right.
Yeah. But
a 9mm will stop a bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
If you put it in the right spot. Anything will stop a bear. Put it in the right spot.
Yeah.
Even a 2.2.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Just put it in the right spot.
I'd say obviously in the brain.
So, but to the Rich Froning, the Natalie Eva Marie's, there's so many people now all of a sudden, because there's folks like you guys like saying, hey, I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're seeing all of these other big celebrities coming out and going, hey, I hunt too.
I want to hunt because
I hunt because she hunts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't going to hunt before that. I just didn't really think about it.
And we're not looking to recruit more hunters. Yes, that'd be great, but we don't have enough resource for everyone to be a hunter.
Yeah.
Okay. And everyone wasn't a hunter back in the day either.
No, we just want acceptance from the village.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to be able to drag the deer back to the fire and let everyone celebrate the meat. And if I happen to, best Shane, then I got the choice of the woman of the village that night.
How dare you?
Exactly.
God, I'd stay out all night. You know what I'm saying? I would not come back to camp.
No, and that's
Be 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
4 weeks later.
You would do what's best for the village because you want to behest me next.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just that kind of mentality that now all of a sudden people are like, "Whoa, it's okay."
That's just that is such a man thing.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
right? Such a man thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I want to hunt. I want to hunt a bear.
Well, we'll sort.
And I want to get the nail on my necklace.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what I want.
All right.
We'll sort it out.
Yeah, I'm in.
I know the people.
Okay, good.
Well, I really appreciate you coming down and coming on our podcast.
Yeah, man.
This was, for me, this was really informative. Good
Thank
stuff, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're incredible. I really am very, very inspired by just the trajectory that you chose to navigate your life, because I find that very fascinating, and to individuals, especially when this definitely wasn't the easy route at all. The other one, what I would assume would be a lot easier, and I'm sure your savings account would have been stacked a little bit more than not. But usually the best things that come from the hardest roads and the from the ground up.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, this is a completely, counter-centric topic to what you typically are talking about. And it's, it is the best job in the world. I say I've got the best job in the world. It has the highest of highs. The mountaintops are amazing, but the valleys are super deep, especially when, you have people constantly we all live in the social media space that are constantly attacking you.
Of course.
And then you have people inside your community that attack you, and you're like, wow, man, just like.
We're in the same space.
Same.
We're in the same space.
I was thinking ours is a little bit more gentle than that, though.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
But we all feel the same
we
thing.
We get hammered sometimes. Like, people are just like, just don't do drugs and you won't die.
I have something
like,
better.
I've had some people say some mean shit about my freaking son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
amazing human being.
Mm-hmm.
Great kid.
What he just sparked was just because we're coming off of our first conference and we spoke as a team, and what he just said, basically within the community, people trying to take down each other.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're
that's
a
where I
perfect
was going.
example.
I just ignore that shit.
But still, it's the same thing, where
it's difficult to ignore it because you're in the same boat as me. This thing is your heart. You just said this thing is your heart. This thing is your soul. When somebody is tearing at your heart and your soul, it's very difficult not to take it personally.
Let it fuel me, though, if I do.
Yeah, I take it.
I don't
also
attack them. I attack them smartly.
Listen, man.
you have to.
Like,
you
we
and
did
me
this.
are not. We are cut from the same cloth. We are cut from the same. I went to Portugal. I was the keynote speaker of this conference, and the president of this conference came up to me and goes, "I'm not sure about you. I don't know about you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're going to say." And I said, "No problems. I'm speaking before lunch. Come up to me after lunch and tell me if you're inspired or not." And when I left that conversation, just like you said, I was like, okay, all right, buddy, here it's on now.
Yeah.
Let me show you what I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
He was the first person to stand up and give me a standing ovation.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You brought the heat.
But it's what you're saying though. If you're, this is your heart, this is your soul. If you're passionate about it, you're gonna take things personally. And I often think should we develop a tougher skin? Should we develop a thicker skin to ignore that kind of stuff? And sometimes I think yes, but other times I'm like no, because then it wouldn't mean as much.
Yeah,
right.
I guess for and you putting it in that context, it fuels my fire to really come from a perspective of exactly how you explain hunting and all of that stuff. Like I did. I got a lot of heat for, I relapsed as an owner, and people said I shouldn't be doing this anymore, and
to leave places, and he shouldn't be at conventions.
And had I listened to them, tens of thousands of people's lives wouldn't be changed.
100%.
And maybe more than that as this podcast grows. But I'm glad I was able to but it fueled me. And I don't know if like I take that kind of inspiration from Kobe Bryant. He used to talk about, man, when people would hate on him, it would just fuel him on the inside and, you know, make him want to perform better.
I like it.
I think there's a difference. You know, you have that internal like drive that it just feeds you. And then there's the ones where you have to just make sure that, you know, you don't succumb to the emotional rage. And if you are going to counter someone, have it be super non-emotion based and very factual and logical and calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you prove it to your haters when you succeed. You know, and then that's all I have to do is continue to succeed and continue to move forward.
Yep.
You know, 1% better every day, right? That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And with yours, I feel like the messaging behind it is the vast majority, like the 40% that we're talking about, they have no idea about everything that we discussed here today. Like they wouldn't even have,
nope.
they don't think
wouldn't
past
even thought of it.
The gun, the kill, and Bambi. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like for them to hear someone like yourself be able to kind of lay out there all of the things that for sure they have no idea, even just from payment purposes, to being only able to have one tag per animal, like things of that, you know, it's just because of naive or whatever it is. So it is very, very important for the hunting community to have people like yourself being able to send that message.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. All I'm thinking about is that bear. The three of us and that fucking bear. I'm telling you, we're doing it. I'm going to drag you with the bear.
Well, it's interesting you said that because Cam said that for my first hunt with a bow should be a bear. And I'm like...
No, that's up in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I won't be going with you. I think the only hunting I'm allowed to do is bow hunting anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so
you.
much.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
man.
you. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks,
your
Robbie.
time. Yes. And now you have to meet Jonathan because
Oh,
this
that was
has
a
been
terrible handshake.
We'll try again.
There we go. Your
That
mitts are
was
so
bad.
big, man.
Yeah.